I am the investigator here.
Okay, let me finish. Please, let the woman finish.
The panic button.
Oh, okay, so City Hall then, probably.
It wasn't anybody at the police department.
Does City Hall have a panic button?
I don't know. I don't know what their security measures are over there.
Interesting. I wanted to ask about Damon Fogley.
Okay.
Are you aware that he was arrested?
I am aware of that, but I cannot talk with you about that.
It has been alleged that he resisted arrest, and you and I both know that that's not true. I would like to open records request the body cam footage from his arrest. Okay. I've already emailed the city about that, but I'm having a lot of problems getting my open records fulfilled. So I wanted to personally ask you if you could assist me.
Tyranny, corruption, extortion. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. BZ Watchdog News Network.
All right, folks, buckle up, because today we're heading down to Live Oak, Texas, where apparently the local government and police department think intimidation, harassment, and arresting a businesswoman is just part of the customer service package. That's right. In today's video, we're bringing you the channel Texas Watchdogs, a woman who didn't set out to become an activist, didn't set out to become an auditor, and probably didn't wake up one morning thinking, you know what would be fun? Getting stalked, harassed, and dragged into a criminal case by my own local government. But when the system starts coming for you, sometimes exposing it becomes the only option left. I had the opportunity to interview her about what's really going on in Live Oak, and let me tell you, the deeper you look, the worse it starts to smell. What started as her own personal ordeal has turned into a fight to expose what she says is corruption inside the government of Live Oak, Texas, while she battles an ongoing criminal case that never should have been part of her life to begin with. So before we roll some of her footage and get into this interview, make sure y'all go over and subscribe to her YouTube channel, Texas Watchdogs. Check out her shorts, check out her videos, and help amplify what she's putting out there. Because stories like this don't get attention unless people are willing to share them. And while you're at it, do your part over here too. Smash that like button, drop a comment, share this everywhere, and subscribe to the channel. Because the more they try to hide, the more we're going to shine a light on it. Let's get into it.
How did all this lead up to
where we are?
Where we are.
My name is Christina. I'm a small business owner. I started my business 20 years ago. I grew up in this area. I'm a hairdresser, and my previous location for my business was sold, and we had a 30-day notice to move. So I found this wonderful location close by, and it was like not even less than 10 minutes away. And we did a Hail Mary trying to get into this building. And that was kind of the beginning of my journey with the city of Live Oak, Texas. I was previously in an ETJ, which is an extraterritorial jurisdiction. And an ETJ doesn't have any kind of municipality. They are just kind of annexed into San Antonio or like Bexar County or Comal County. So whoever is closest as far as like first responders or law enforcement, that's who would get dispatched. They don't have their own emergency services. There's no fire department. There's no elected officials out there. So there's no code. So moving to Live Oak was, what do you call it? It was very eye-opening for me as a business owner. It was, and they kind of took advantage of that. They came into the salon on April 22nd, the fire marshal, and he shut my business down for not having a certificate of occupancy. And we were doing cosmetic renovations that we allegedly required permits. Now, when I rented this building, it was a turnkey building, meaning that it had no reason to be inspected. I mean, I shouldn't say be inspected. I guess you would still need inspections, but my plan for this building was minimal. Like, we didn't have any capital for renovations because it was a turnkey building. That's what I was looking for, something that didn't need any renovations or modifications. So the city steps in and they they tell me that I had to do a lot of modifications on this building to get it up to code, which kind of ended up being upwards of like $30,000 to $40,000. And then through the process, it was almost like they kept finding things for me to fix. So towards the end of the journey, I was closed from April 22nd to almost November 1st. For a small business owner, that's devastating, especially in my line of work, because we lose our clients. They seek the services elsewhere. So sometime in the end of July, beginning of August, the fire marshal, he kept popping up into my building. And he had been in there while we were doing some training and development, which I was told by my general contractor we were allowed to do. We weren't conducting services. We weren't open to the public. And he put a stop work order on my building again. And this was probably the fourth or fifth time. And then they ended up they did shut the power to my building, citing safety issues. Because, well, it wasn't even that. They didn't want me occupying the building. And then they kept the power off, citing safety issues. He had returned and saw that my mini refrigerator was still working, which was awesome because I could still offer my contractors cold drinks. The building was 100 degrees because this was in August and they had the power shut off. And they said that I was going to have to do a meter conversion because I shouldn't have had any power flowing to the building. And I did. So they wanted me to do this almost $100,000 meter conversion to run all of my electrical lines on one breaker. And this is because I occupy 2 buildings. So I was closed an additional 10 weeks. And through the process, it was just very suspicious. The fire marshal, Deputy Fire Marshal Luna, continued entering my building. Is highly probable that my local elected officials and city departments are unlawfully utilizing the city's flock surveillance system to surveil the community against the federal grant that afforded it to them. So the city of Live Oak is very small, and I did there's a website called DFlock, and it will let you know how many cameras are in your immediate area or your jurisdiction, your municipality. We have 16,000 residents here in the city of Live Oak, and we have 23 flock cameras. The city of San Antonio has 1.5 million residents. They have 20 flock cameras. They have one for every 75,000 residents, while Live Oak has one for every 7,000 residents. It doesn't make sense why they need that much surveillance in such a small municipality. But in the beginning of this journey, I questioned the permits and inspections department on how the fire marshal knew I was when I entered my building, because he would show up almost immediately, like after I would get to the building. And sometimes I'd walk. I live so close to my business, I would walk. So they contend that flock surveillance is not live feed, that it's a license plate reader. They are lying to you. There is live feed on those surveillance cameras. They have biometric technology that can identify you by the shape of your ears sitting in your car. So I had no idea that we had this kind of technology in our community. And I had asked the permits technician, how does he know every time I show up to my business? And I said, where are your cameras? And they said, there's no cameras here. There's just a bunch of nosy city council people. And I thought that that was an interesting response, but I believed them, halfways, but I still questioned everything. There was a day where the fire marshal showed up and I was removing assets from the building. This was very early on, within a week of being initially shut down. And every time he would enter, he would always ask me, can I help you? And I feel like it's my business. Can I help you? I would always be polite. And I said, no, I'm just removing some assets. Is there anything I can do for you? And he said, oh, you're using this place for storage. And I said, no, I'm removing things. I'm doing the opposite. Unless you're here to find me or cite me, I'm on a tight schedule. So I asked him again, am I doing something wrong? He said, no. I said, are you here to find me? He said, no. And I said, well, then I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And I told him, I'm borrowing a truck. I got to get the truck back. And he got on the phone and called the city manager and told him that he needed permits and inspections to come immediately so that he could fine me for operating. And I hadn't even cut the power to the building, you know? So I was kind of like astonished that somebody in a position of power or leadership or, you know, a public official would lie like that. So I kind of like, I laughed. And when I laughed, he asked for the city manager to send police backup because I was getting a little aggressive. And for that reason, that is like the beginning of all of this. I will not let it go. I do feel like I'm being surveilled 100% and not lawfully. I'm not being surveilled for crime. That's an important like note to make in this instance, this circumstance here, is that I was being policed for code enforcement, not crime. So I'm not committing any crimes. People will say, well, what if you're not doing anything wrong? What are you worried about? Well, code violations aren't crime. You can't police. It's not even the right department. So when I say it's unlawful, the police department is sharing this data unlawfully with other departments. So there's no reason why a city manager should know my whereabouts, or a committee member, or a citizen on patrol, or a council member, or a permit inspector, or a chief building official. When all of these people are tracking your movements, it begins to feel very invasive, intrusive, and they should not be allowed to do it. Who watches the watchers? And in my municipality, every sworn officer has access to this system. So to me, how do you police that? If somebody is sharing data unlawfully within the department, how are you going to regulate that? And when somebody is abusing it, I think it's by design, right? Well, how do we know who shared the data? Everyone has access, you know? So it makes the process of policing it impossible. So they really do need to have stricter guidelines and regulations. Like there's some municipalities that only give access to leadership, you know? And I think I think that they should do that everywhere. But the police officers get text messages for the hot list that they have in their system to notify them of vehicles that they are keeping an eye out for. And it can be based off color and make and model and all of that. They could put white van, and every time a white van pops up on the flock system, it notifies them. So, I mean, it's pretty advanced technology. It's not just a license plate reader. Noticed is that it's never the media. It's always the content creators that bring this to light. Like the media cannot help us. They're not helping us, you know? I have reached out to every news outlet, and it took me getting arrested to get their attention. Records, and that was the catalyst to why they were looking for reasons to arrest me. And I will share this with you. I think this is the most important detail to my story, or at least one of the most important details. There's a former mayor. His name is James Hildebrand. He's now passed away, but his wife is still heavily involved in the city functions. She's a committee member on the Dangerous Structures Committee, which I think it's also important to note is overseen by the Permits and Inspections Department, the chief building official. They determine which buildings need to be demolished because they're unsafe. So she's a part of this committee, and her husband, who's now passed, the former mayor, retired from the district attorney's office after 27 years as a criminal investigator. So I do believe that she has utilized his network through his career and used that as a means of obtaining arrest warrants for people that are like mosquitoes, like flies to them. Report a crime. This fire marshal is constantly coming into my building, harassing me. I feel like it's harassment, you know? And now at this point, it's stalking because he was surveilling me on the flock surveillance system. In my opinion, I believe it's highly likely, highly probable that this entire city has shared data unlawfully across departments. So,
Hey, is the chief in this morning?
Let me find out.
Thank you.
What's your name? I know you
Christina.
look familiar.
I'm Christina.
Christina.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hello.
I'm just doing a report.
Huh?
I'm just here to meet with the chief.
Are you here to meet the chief?
Mm-hmm.
Are you expecting that? Or is he expecting you?
Probably.
Okay. Is there some commotion going on over at the Public Works guys?
Are you watching me?
I am not.
Is somebody watching me?
They hit the panic alarm as far as I'm aware.
Somebody hit the panic alarm?
I don't know what's going on, love. I'm just trying to figure out what's happening.
My name is Christina, not Love, but thank you.
Okay, well, hi, Miss Christina. I'm
Good morning.
Officer Esquivel.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for checking in.
Is there everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine. Hi, good morning, I'm Christina.
Hey, man.
Did they hit the panic button?
Yeah, so everything okay?
I hope so.
I have no idea what's going on.
I know.
I promise you, I have no idea what's happening.
Okay.
Can you tell us what was going on?
I don't know. I wish I could. I wish maybe you guys could tell me. I'm sure you guys know.
No.
Yeah, no, all they
Can I ask you a question? Both
Sure.
of you, are you familiar with the flock system? The city's flock system?
A little bit, yeah.
Do you have access to it?
I do.
Do you have access
Yes.
to it? Does everyone in this precinct have access to it?
Only sworn officers do.
Only sworn officers?
Yes.
And is there live feed on those cameras?
No.
Yeah, no, not live feed, no.
No?
No.
To your knowledge?
Yeah, to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Recording. Dispatch recording.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, as far as I'm aware, it's not a live feed. It's not video.
No. No,
Yeah.
they're not video recordings.
Okay.
It's not video recordings. I get notifications, I don't actively log into it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I've been actually trying to meet with Anas and the city secretary Eason for probably a week now, and they're refusing access to them. And I have a right to petition my government, and they're violating my rights as a citizen of this community. So I'm over here trying to file a report also on what's just my business. I'm trying to file a report, but I wanted to speak to the chief about it before I did. Excuse me. They can put a panic button.
I have curiosity, do you have issues with the flock?
You know, you could follow my Facebook page and you can see everything on there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a story I'm just trying to tell. That's all.
Okay.
So after hearing all of that, let's call this what it looks like. A small business owner says she got buried under shutdowns, surprise inspections, moving goalposts, power cutoffs, endless demands, and a criminal case hanging over her head, all while trying to simply keep her business alive. That's not public service. That sounds a whole lot more like a city government treating one woman as a target instead of a citizen. And of course, like always, the excuses start stacking up. Nobody knows anything. Nobody can explain anything. Nobody can answer basic questions. But somehow the right people always seem to show up at the right time. The pressure keeps getting applied, and the same familiar pattern keeps repeating itself. Funny how government incompetence always seems to look an awful lot like coordination when you watch it long enough. You heard Christina explain how what started as relocating her salon turned into months of shutdowns, massive code demands, repeated interference, and what she believes was surveillance and harassment tied to city officials and departments that had no business tracking her in the first place. And when she started asking questions, filing records requests, and refusing to just shut up and go away, suddenly the temperature got even hotter. Imagine that. The moment somebody starts demanding receipts, the system suddenly gets very interested in controlling the narrative. That's the part they never want people to focus on. They want you distracted by labels. They want you arguing over whether someone is an auditor, an activist, a troublemaker, or whatever other word makes it easier to dismiss them. But the real issue is this. Why does a woman trying to run her business and question her government end up describing a pattern of intimidation, surveillance concerns, obstruction, and arrest? Why do basic records become a battle? Why do officials suddenly get real nervous when sunlight hits the room? Because that's how these people operate. They count on the average person getting exhausted. They count on small business owners running out of money, time, patience, and fight. They count on people deciding it's easier just to move on than to keep digging. And that is exactly why stories like this matter. Because one, people stop being afraid to speak. the whole polished government PR routine starts cracking real fast. So here's my takeaway. Whether every allegation gets proven tomorrow or not, what you heard tonight is disturbing enough that it deserves attention, scrutiny, public records, and a whole lot more questions. Because when officials act like they're above accountability, that's usually your sign to start even looking harder. And around here, we don't do blind trust. We do timelines. We do receipts. We do documentation. And we keep digging until the people in power either explain themselves or expose themselves. So y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Is this a case of a woman being railroaded for refusing to stay quiet? Is Live Oak just wildly incompetent? Or does this whole thing smell like exactly what it looks like? Drop your thoughts below. And before you go, make sure you head over and subscribe to Texas Watchdogs and support her channel too, because independent voices covering stories like this are the reason the public hears about any of it in the first place. Then come back over here and do your part. Smash that like button, drop a comment, share this everywhere, and subscribe to the channel. Because the more these people hide behind titles, badges, and bureaucratic nonsense, the harder we're going to shine the light. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. I'm your boy BZ, and I'll see you in the next video.
Tyranny, corruption, extortion. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. BZ Watchdog News Network.
BZ Watchdog.